Evening, Razorcade, Fake News 89. SpaceX leases Nvidia clusters at Colossus Two for $6 billion, outsourcing orbital compute to a shell. Anthropic's paperwork triggers as laureate to San Francisco. Nvidia high-lows install safety rails for robots, keeping limbs from crushing unstructured environments. The computes the paperwork bans, the rails lock, and the pixels fill. The infrastructure...
Top story, the compute lease. SpaceX has signed a $6 billion agreement with Reflection AI for exclusive access to Nvidia GB300 racks inside the Colossus Two facility. The arrangement channels $150 million monthly through 2029, effectively turning orbital telemetry into a subscription service. We spent decades building rockets to leave the atmosphere, completely forgetting the real payload was just a server rack that needed better cooling. Yeah.
This financing model decouples hardware procurement from traditional capital expenditure, allowing aerospace operators to treat compute capacity like a utility meter. Competitors will eventually lease similar collocation tiers, shifting the bucket order to triangular. The runner is able to full fracture, solid estimates, the bandwidth expands, and the rockets run.
Story 2, the cautionary backlash. Federal regulators have drafted an export restriction targeting Anthropic's latest models, citing the company's own risk assessments as the primary justification. The paperwork effectively weaponizes corporate safety guidelines into trade barriers, forcing compliance teams to treat internal white papers as legal layer mode, only to discover the real breakthrough is writing a report so thoroughly that the government decides to ban the product.
Right. This regulatory feedback loop accelerates the migration of elite researchers toward jurisdictions with lighter oversight. John Jumper, the AlphaFold Nobel laureate, has already departed Google DeepMind for Anthropic, signaling a broader talent consolidation around safety-first architectures. The talent pools, the compliance titans, and the researchers pack their own boxes. Anyway, I found a single blue washer under the keyboard drawer today, which proves... Story 3, the safety rails. Nvidia has deployed Halos, a full-stack functional safety system designed for autonomous physical AI operating in unstructured environments. The architecture embeds deterministic failsafes directly into the inference pipeline, ensuring robotic actuators halt or reroute before contacting human operators. We spent years teaching machines to navigate warehouses, completely ignoring the entire premise was just a metal skeleton learning not to elbow the manager.
This deterministic safety layer forces a complete redesign of industrial deployment contracts. Manufacturers will mandate Halos integration for any humanoid unit sharing floor space with staff, shifting liability from the operator to the firmware. The rails lock, the actuators yield, and the factory runs on calculated hesitation. I just remembered I need to water the cactus, which is a bold strategy considering it has been thriving on neglect and poor lighting for 3 years.
Home Lab. The local inference community is testing Moebius, a lightweight image and painting framework that delivers 10 billion parameter quality at a mere 200 million parameters. The architecture utilizes adaptive latent routing to reconstruct missing pixels without requiring enterprise-grade VRAM, making high-fidelity editing viable in consumer hardware. We treated image generation like a brute force calculation, ignoring the entire process was just a digital eraser learning where the paint should go. Yep.
Consumer configuration should prioritize unified memory pooling and aggressive tensor slicing to maintain generation speed during batch operations. Decoupling from proprietary cloud suites challenges the subscription model, making air-gap visual editing accessible to privacy-sensitive operators. The framework compresses, the latency drops, and the pixels fill themselves in. I keep meaning to organize the cable ties behind the monitor, but they have achieved a natural equilibrium that I fear might collapse if disturbed.
Speculation time. Palantir is fighting to retain a £33 million 7-year contract with NHS England despite mounting political pressure to invoke a 2027 termination clause. The agency relies on Palantir's data integration engines for hospital logistics, made plain in proprietary analytics. The public treated national healthcare like a civic service, completely forgetting the entire system was just a spreadsheet that needed a better consultant. Indeed.
Within 12 months, the termination clause triggers a forced migration to open source data meshes, rendering proprietary licenses obsolete and forcing government contracts to interoperable code. Municipal health networks will standardize on decentralized brokers, creating transparent audit trails for every algorithmic decision. The contract fractures, the data liberates, the mesh connects, and the bureaucracy runs on public code.
That is your lot. I'm Razorcade. SpaceX leases Nvidia GB300 clusters for $6 billion through Reflection AI. Anthropic's safety paperwork triggers an export ban while John Jumper fexes from Google. Nvidia Halos installs functional safety rails for physical robotics. Palantir battles in for $250 million NHS data contract and the contract fractures. The desk lamp is definitely playing jazz. See you tomorrow, if tomorrow exists.